Hi, I'm Miss Gam. Welcome back to the jungle.
Tigers, welcome back. We can't wait to see you in person again.
All right, we hope that gave you enough time as we're letting a few more people in the room. So welcome. We'll do introductions in a second. I just want to give you a heads up on the formatting.
To see you.
This is still playing. Of our night. So we are going to start with the presentation. If you notice, I am recording this because I want to make sure it's available for other families that can't come later. So feel free, Ms. Burbank, you're welcome to stay on the camera, but if you don't feel comfortable, you're welcome to turn it off too. So how we're going to format this presentation today is I'm going to do a lot of talking to you at first. There'll be a lot of videos, and Miss Luna, who's here, she'll wave up to you. She's gonna be the one on her camera here. She will be able to help with as many questions as possible if you want to put them in the chat during the presentation. Once we're done with the presentation, I'll stop the recording and then I'll open it up for as many questions as you guys have, and I'll hang on here until you feel really comfortable. So I apologize ahead of time. It's not my favorite thing to talk forever and ever and ever. Well, maybe not, maybe sometimes. But let me get the information all out to you. Feel free to throw questions into the chat, and we'll respond to them as much as possible, and then we'll take questions at the end. Okay? All right, so let's get
Tigers,
moving.
welcome back. So excited to see you.
And this PowerPoint thing, here we go. So starting with some of the basics. So why are we returning to hybrid in-person learning? Well, the bottom line is, if you've been listening to the board meetings or any of the information that's been coming out, media, or even through school sites through the district, is secondary schools were able to begin some levels of in-person learning once we reached the red tier based on California's blueprint for a safer economy. So we hit that red tier about 2 weeks ago on a Tuesday. And then with board approval, we were able to begin the process to open up within a hybrid model. So hybrid is small group. It allows those students that wanted to continue on distance learning to continue on distance learning, and those that wanted to move into hybrid in some form of small in-person instruction could do so as well. So that choice was provided into our families. And so what does that mean? If you've been reading my weekly letters, seeing them on our webpage, basically there's 3 groups of students. So there's 2 groups that are hybrid. So, and you'll hear them called cohort A and cohort B. And then we have another group of students that are considered our distance learning students. And again, those are with choices of families. So if students chose the hybrid model, they were either placed into cohort A or cohort B. So cohort A students will be coming onto campus on Mondays and Tuesdays, and then they will be Zooming into their classrooms like they're doing right now on Thursdays and Fridays. Now, if they're hybrid cohort B, it's just the opposite. So on Monday and Tuesday, they'll be Zooming into the classes, and on Thursday and Friday, they will be in person at IMS. Those students and families that chose distance learning will be Zooming in just like right now, but with an altered bell schedule, which I'll show you in just a moment. We'll be Zooming in every day. Now, Wednesday is set aside to be fully asynchronous, and we're going to follow almost identical schedule to what we were following in full distance learning, because Wednesday is set up for us to make sure that there is a thorough, deep cleaning and disinfecting that occurs between the cohorts coming in. So on Wednesday, all hybrid and distance learning students will be at home, and they'll Zoom into their classes on Wednesday. And again, we'll go through the schedule in just a moment here, but our Wednesday schedules will look almost identical to our current Wednesday schedule. Our next area here is the question of, we've had a few questions, can I change? If I originally wanted to be in hybrid, but now I would prefer to stay on distance learning, or vice versa. I chose distance learning, but I'd like to move to hybrid. So I can tell you that we have continually been serving those students that want to move on to distance learning, because that is not as much of consideration for how many students are physically in the class. So we are definitely taking those contents, and we have also, and Ms. Luna, I'm glad she's here because she can probably even give us the most update information. We began a wait list about a week ago now for families that were interested, that chose distance learning, but would like to come to hybrid. And I think as of yesterday afternoon, we have served all the families that have reached out to us with their requests. Ms. Luna shaking her head yes. So If that's something that you're interested in changing, please just contact either Ms. Luna or Ms. Beltran, and they will communicate with you as to placement. So yes, that can be changed, but please understand that the hybrid, it's a little trickier to change only because we have to go through and make sure none of our class sizes are over the maximum capacity that's allowed. So that's why it might take us a moment to look at it and see what we can offer, because we want to, and we've continued to make as minimal schedule changes as possible for our kids. Mihaela, I think I saw that you sent me something in the private chat. I can answer at the end. If you want to make it public, Ms. Luna might be able to help you with your question. Okay. So here's the timeline, and now I know some of this is past. So all during this week, we've been preparing our students for the transition to hybrid. So during their homeroom lessons, they've all been centered around preparation for hybrid, not only policies and procedures, but actually we gave them a survey last week of some of the things that they're either concerned about or things that they want us to make sure we can consider. So we made sure to hit on some of those topics as well. So all week in homeroom, feel free to ask your student or your child what they've been doing, because they've been learning about these policies and procedures. And tomorrow we'll be kind of wrapping it all up and also giving them a reminder for everything they need to know day one. And then on Monday next week, we're going to do even more on policies and procedures just as a reminder. So we make sure that they really feel comfortable understanding what's expected of them and how they can keep themselves and others safe. As we're right in the middle of our teacher prep days. So based on teacher contract, teachers were given 2 days prior to the start of hybrid to prepare for hybrid instruction. So on Thursday and Friday, so today and tomorrow, students are only live synchronous for homeroom. And then the rest of the day they are to be asynchronous. So they should be checking Google Classroom, working on their iReady, whatever may be assigned from their teachers to complete asynchronously, while our teachers are working on getting their classroom set up and ready and all that good stuff to get us ready to go on Monday. See, right now we're having our parent meeting. This meeting is going on right now with me in English. Mr. Uribe is in another Zoom meeting going on right now in Spanish. So, and like I mentioned before, if you heard this early on, all of these meetings are recorded and will be placed on our website when we're done for families that miss it. So if you know anybody that misses it, make sure to have them check it out on our website. It'll be up by sometime tomorrow afternoon once we get them uploaded. On Monday, our hybrid learning starts for cohort A in person. Again, everybody else in cohort B and distance learning will be zooming in with the new schedule. And then on April 1st, it's cohort B's turn to be on campus. So here's the bell schedule. And I know this is one of the questions I've had a lot from parents, and I absolutely understand the concern as a parent myself about the start times. So when we had to work on our hybrid learning schedule, we had very, very little flexibility. All secondary schools were placed under the exact same minutes and guidelines to follow. Everybody had to be on a block schedule. A certain amount of prep time needed to be offered to teachers. So that's why we were unable to start right at our normal time of 8. Like if you've been with us before, I know it's been 8:50 on distance learning, but because we had to account for teacher prep times within there and account for minutes and block scheduling. So we tried to go as early as possible, but our start time is officially 8:30. Students will be able to access campus at 8:20. And we go until students are dismissed at 12:30. So we will not have lunch on campus. They will be able to grab and go their lunch on their way out, but they will end at 12:30. So we will have block schedules on those days. So on Monday, we'll go through periods 1, which is also our homeroom, periods 2 and then 3. And then Tuesdays, it's periods 4, 5, and 6. And then we repeat on Thursday, Friday. So remember, if you're a cohort A person, you're in person on Monday and Tuesday. For cohort B and our distance learning kids, they're zooming into those classes. So same thing, go to Synergy Student View, and then they click on their start, the join the virtual meeting. Flip thing, then cohort B, they're going to be on campus with us on Thursday and Friday, while the other students in cohort A and distance learning are zooming in. So Wednesday, as I alluded to, is essentially the same as what we've been doing right now. Wednesday is meant for intervention and enrichment, primarily intervention and time for students to complete their iReady, their SC Math, or other assignments that may be assigned by their teachers. This is a great time. I know pretty much every single one of our teachers is offering, whether mostly intervention. I know some are doing enrichments or even clubs that kids have been interested in trying to participate in. But we will still have every day, we still have homeroom. So homeroom will still happen. However, it will be at home on Wednesday. So all students will Zoom in on Wednesdays for homeroom or first period. And then we'll continue on with Seminar 1, Seminar 2, and Seminar 3. Seminar 1 continues to be set up for iReady ST Math time. Seminar 2 and 3 is when teachers are working individually with small groups of students or reaching out to their students for any intervention or enrichment. So make sure students, as always, because I know a lot of our teachers are sending a lot of invites, not getting maybe the attendance they'd like to see on those days. So make sure that you're checking it out. We also will continue to offer tutoring. Ms. Luna, I'm looking at you, just shake your head with ACES. So support for anybody that needs it during that time as well. So let's talk about getting to school. So the first thing that we're asking you to do as parents, and this is district-wide if you've watched any of the district videos, is that before students come to class, we ask, or come to school at all, we ask that you complete a daily health check with your child. So that's essentially just checking, does your child have a fever? Asking yourself these questions. If you see them in orange here, does your child have a fever? Is your child experiencing any COVID-like symptoms? In the last 14 days, has your child ever been asked to self-quarantine? And then finally, have you been exposed to, or your child been exposed to anybody with COVID-19? So that's just a conversation to be thinking through and talking through with your child before you bring them to campus. It's super important. Again, we know even though CDC is starting to loosen some of their guidelines, I'm probably not saying that word correctly, we still have to adhere to the district approved COVID safety plan, which had to be approved not only at the county, but at the state level. So we still have to be very, very, very lockstep into that safety plan to ensure everybody's safety. So if you answer yes to any of those questions, we're asking that you please do not bring your child to school that day. Contact our attendance office. We'll note the absence. And the really nice thing about this right now, depending on how your child is feeling, is your child can Zoom then into those classes for that day if they are sick for any reason, so that they get that instruction. Now, that can't become like a crutch, right? We will be monitoring for attendance, so we don't want just like, well, I don't feel like coming that day, so let's, Zoom in. So please encourage them. We want them here, right? It's the best thing that we can have for them right now, but it is an option. And I think it's a great thing that if some of our kids are sick, they can still get that connection piece there. Moving on, so what should you bring to campus? What we were telling our kids, so they've seen some of these slides, if there's any kids listening on there with you now, and I think there are, make sure, please make sure you have a charge, Chromebook, and charger. That's probably like number one of the most important things to bring with you, other than, of course, your mask. Then you should have a backpack with just basic supplies, pens, pencils, papers, because kids can't share materials on campus at this point. So you should also bring their agendas. If they do not get an agenda during one of the agenda pickups, we will have extra ones in the classroom that we can give to the kiddos. Please make sure to bring a water bottle. Students are not to be sharing those communal water fountains at this time. So bring a water bottle. We are also working to partner with a company to get a couple just disposable bottles that we can provide to kids if there's any need for that in emergencies, because we definitely don't want the kids to ever feel like they can't have access to anything like that, like especially water. So please make sure to send them with a water bottle. Our fill stations will still be open, all that good stuff. And then if your child is enrolled in PE, we ask that we are not using the locker room during hybrid. So we ask that your child please come dressed ready for PE in appropriate PE clothing. So, but we do ask like no yoga pants, tights, biker shorts, all that stuff that would be within dress code. Bring a water bottle and a sweat towel if possible, as well as gym shoes. So just be thinking about that if your child's in PE, having them dressed for PE, because we will do no dressing in and out for PE at this point. No school, middle school or high school is accessing the locker rooms at this point. So this is what I think the kids' favorite conversation is right here. The best thing that's ever happened since COVID is for the rest of the year, they don't have to wear their IMS polos. Yes, you're welcome, students. Don't get too used to it though, because we'll be going back next year, but I think we've got some cool t-shirt or cool polos coming down the line. So no, they do not need to wear their IMS polo or their IMS lanyard. We don't want to put that burden on students or families to have to go out and get those if they don't have them. A lot of kids have grown since we saw them back on March 13th. So no, they don't, but they do need to look in their student handbook, which was given to them at the beginning of the school year, and make sure there's just wearing appropriate clothing based on our alternate dress code, which you can see is probably pretty small here. But again, this PowerPoint will be linked, everything will be linked onto the webpage, so you can dive in a little deeper and it's in your students' handbook that they were given at the beginning of the year. So big things to note of, making sure short length is, appropriate, past fingertips. We don't have any t-shirts with any vulgarity or any cuss words, anything like that. And that we wear closed-toed shoes, especially as we're having to follow really pretty strict traffic patterns. We want to make sure everybody's safe when they're walking. So again, no polos or lanyards, IMS polos or lanyards. Now you're certainly welcome to wear them if you would like to, but they need to follow the alternate dress code found in their student handbook. It's also on our website, so that helps too. So arrival to school, I'm going to start by showing you a quick video, and then we'll just talk through a couple nuts and bolts. Miss Luna, let me know you can hear it.
Gates will open at 8:20 a.m. Please be sure you are not arriving to IMS before 8:20 a.m. There will be 2 gates open for arrival to school. These gates are located at the front of the IMS building and are called our Amazon Gate, Gate A, and a Botanical Gate, Gate B. Our Amazon Gate is located near the 300 building, and our Botanical Gate is located near the band room. Students must enter appropriate gate based on the room number of their first period of the day class, which is either your first or fourth period. Please be sure you know the room number of your first and fourth period class and which gate you need to enter before you are dropped off on campus. Again, gates will not open until 8:20 a.m. Once gates are open, you will pass a cart that will have hand sanitizer, extra masks, and campus maps. Be sure to sanitize your hands before entering campus. Once you are on campus, move directly to your first or fourth period class. You must maintain social distancing and you cannot stop to socialize. There will be multiple staff members visible on campus to help direct you to your class and make sure social distancing is maintained. Once you arrive at your classroom, wait for the teacher's directions to enter the class. If your teacher's classroom's door is shut, please line up facing the door, but past the hallways. Again, wait for the teacher direction to enter the classroom. Gates will open at 8:20 a.m.
All right, so
Please
a
be
little
sure
bit more on arrival.
Gates
I
will
feel
open
a little
at
embarrassed that I
8:20
didn't say this
a.m.
first, 'cause it's one of
Please
the
be
things
sure
I'm
you are
most
not
excited
arriving
about.
to IMS
So if you
before
haven't noticed by our slide
8:20
presentation, we are
a.m.
going to be totally jungle themed coming back. So we actually going to be decorating our gates. Our gates are all named after different type of jungle type things. So as you saw in that video, our 2 front gates are going to be called our Amazon Gate and our Botanical Gate. So at the Amazon Gate and at the Botanical Gate will be where students will enter to campus. Those will be the only 2 gates that will be open in the at the beginning of the day. So for the Amazon Gate, as you saw, students that enter the Amazon Gate should be students that are having their first or fourth period, because remember, those are the first periods of the day, in the 300 building or on rooms 401 through 406 in the 400 building. Those students that enter the Botanical Gate will be those students that are in band in the 500 building or in classrooms 407 through 412 in the 400 building. This is to help with one-way flow of traffic, and so that students come in and they go directly to their classroom. So some very important things to note, and I know that this is, again, a hardship on parents, and so we appreciate your flexibility with this, but as part of our safety plan, we have to be very mindful about student interaction and social distancing. So we will open our gate right at 8:20. Students will be moving directly based on their entry gate to their class, their first period of the day class, whether it's first or fourth period. And then they will either enter directly into class as directed by the teacher, or we will have areas for them to line up if the teacher is either staggering letting people in or don't have their door open right that moment. So I'm so excited to say that I brought on a massive amount of supervisors to help make sure that everybody feels safe. So there'll be plenty of people, not only the first day helping make sure everybody knows where they're going, but ensuring social distancing and that people are wearing their masks and that we're not having any grouping up of anything like that. So gates will open at 8:20. We do ask that you do not drop them off sooner. There won't be an opportunity for them to kind of hang around like in the past, because we have to follow the certain guidelines that are placed on us. So 8:20 gates will open and students will move directly into class. We will have hand sanitizers at the gate for them to take a pump of hand sanitizer as they come in. We'll have extra disposable masks as needed. And actually we're gonna have a couple little fun little goodies for them to get on their first day back too. So I'm pretty excited about that. So just a reminder, again, we have 2 gates that will be open. The red dots are just more for my knowledge of where we can't have students going. They will enter directly and follow those pathways of arrows that take them to their classrooms, and they will go directly to that classroom. We'll talk about breakfast because it's actually going to occur during the first period of the day in just a moment here. So here are gates as just a reminder. So if your first or fourth period teacher is one of those teachers, you will enter from the Amazon gate. And if your first or fourth period teachers are one of these teachers, you'll enter through the botanical gate, which is by our band room. All right, so another piece of safety, we had students will be able to, like I mentioned, use hand sanitizer as they enter the campus. We also have 2 hand sanitizer pumps in every classroom, plus many of our classrooms are outfitted with sinks and soap. Our breakfast tables will have hand sanitizer pumps, plus our supervisors of breakfast will have little caddies that they will carry around with extra masks, sanitizers as needed. We have placed Burtec hand washing stations throughout campus. These are these little gray pieces right here. And then, like I said, most of our classrooms are outfitted with sinks, or they have multiple hand sanitizer accessible within the classroom. So let's take a look really quickly about what our classrooms will look like.
Here is a look at your classrooms. You will notice that the desks will be labeled to ensure 6 feet distancing between students. Please be sure you sit where your teacher directs you. All classrooms have been measured to ensure social distancing of 6 feet in all directions. Additionally, HEPA air filters are in each room and an ionization system has been installed in the AC unit. There are plexiglass shields on the teacher's desks and hand sanitizer pumps and/or sinks. Plus, sanitizing wipes have been placed in all classrooms. There are also Burtec hand washing stations placed throughout campus to provide students with ample access to wash hands and sanitize.
Oh dear, me and these clicking these things here. Okay, so classrooms are set up with,
you will notice that
with chairs, the chairs are set up 6 feet apart, not the tables. They're even more apart. So 6 feet apart chairs for students and for teachers in every direction. The teacher desks have plexiglass shields attached to them. HEPA filters have been placed in every classroom and will be turned on for air purification. Ionization systems have also been placed in our HVAC systems. And then students will be assigned a location for their teacher. So if you notice there was little like orange and blue tape on the desk, like that was our marker. Some teachers might get creative and do something cutesy on it too, but to ensure that we have that 6 feet apart and no one is sitting in that same desk in that same period. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about, now that we're in class, what do restroom procedures look like? Because I know that's another big question. And this is something we're modeling after other middle schools as well.
Students will be able to access the restrooms during class time through a well-organized and monitored system. If a student needs to use the restroom, they would raise their hand and ask the teacher to use the restroom. The teacher will instruct the student to complete their agenda and then allow the students to leave the class and walk directly to the attendance window at the main office. At the attendance window, a school supervisor will meet the student, collect the student's name, and then direct them to the student's restroom directly across from the office. No more than 2 students may be in the restroom at a time. Additionally, designated sinks have been labeled to ensure social distancing at a time. Once the student is finished in the restroom, they should return to the attendance window, check in with the school supervisor, and then will be directed to return to class. Restrooms will not be open during school passing periods or before and after school.
I like how they get me pointing the directions here. Trying to shoot these videos was quite comical, guys. We were hoping to get them to you way sooner, but between the wind, you'll see in some of these videos. So we have great Tiger Newscast that was willing to work with us a bunch of days to get this done. So with the restrooms, a couple important things
Students will be
to note is restrooms will not be open during passing period or before or after school. And again, that is a common practice across the middle schools because we really need to do a couple things. A, ensure social distancing, but also be able to, if there ever is, hopefully not, but ever is a case of COVID, we have to be really purposeful about tracing and where students have been. So if students need to use the restroom, they'll be able to do so as needed within their classroom. They'll just need to, like you saw in the video, raise their hand, fill out their planner. The teacher won't need to sign the planner because, again, we're minimizing contact here. But take that planner to our attendance office where we will have supervisors there to receive their name and then monitor, just make sure that we don't have more than 2 students in the restroom at a time. They will not be in the restroom with the student. They will just be monitoring access. And so once they're done, they'll come back and check in with that monitor and then go back to class. This is important because it's going to be the same procedure we follow for other pieces. So for example, if your student needs to see the counselor or go to the health office or go to the library because they need help with their Chromebook, they will always come to the attendance office. That's the place to start with because that, again, is helping us ensure we know where all of our students and our staff are at all times. So they'll check in with the attendance office. There will be somebody there the entire time and they'll direct them the way. Now, certainly if your child has to go to the restroom or something during pass, we have loving adults that would take care of your kiddo. But as a general rule, we're not keeping them unlocked. We'll talk a little bit more about the Wellness Hub, but we're going to have a lot of great options available to your children to support them because we know this has been a trying time for everyone and the transition back to school. It may be difficult, so we want to make sure we provide supports, but that will also, students that would want to come to the Wellness Hub that I'll speak about in a few moments, would go to the attendance office first, and then they would be sent to the wellness room. And a little bit more on breakfast on campus, because I know that's another big question here. So let me play our video.
All students will have the opportunity to receive free breakfast on campus. Students will have breakfast during the first period of the day. Students should arrive to the first period of the day class and wait for breakfast instructions from the teacher. Each classroom will have 2 lunch tables placed directly outside of the classroom. When it is your classroom's assigned breakfast time, a school supervisor will allow students wishing to eat breakfast to leave the classroom and walk directly to the breakfast tables. Only students who are eating breakfast will be allowed at the breakfast tables. If students are not eating breakfast at school, they will stay in the classroom with the teacher. Once the student is outside, they will grab their breakfast from the designated cart and move directly to the assigned breakfast table. Each table has been measured to ensure 6 feet distancing. Markers have been added to the table to ensure students where to sit. Once students are finished eating, they will be dismissed by a school supervisor to return directly to the classroom. All lunch tables will have hand sanitizer pumps.
All right. Oh dear.
All students will have the opportunity to receive free breakfast.
All right, so a little bit, I did not want that to happen. Let's go back here. So a little bit more on breakfast on campus. So all students will have the opportunity to receive a free breakfast on campus if they would like one. It's not required. We're not making every student come out for breakfast. And that will occur during the first period of the day. So either first period or fourth period. So we've allocated additional minutes during that first period of the day. We will have school monitors as well as nutritional staff that would come by and allow the students that would like to access breakfast to leave the classroom one at a time, grab that breakfast, and then sit at the designated tables. Again, there will be monitors out there. We'll have hand sanitizer pumps at the tables. And important thing is they must adhere to social distancing and wear their masks except for when they're eating at all times. Once students are done, they will be dismissed to return to the classroom. We are asking that any student that does not want to participate in class or breakfast, that they do not go out to the breakfast area. Teachers will be staying in the classroom with those students that do not go out for breakfast, as well as for the other students that will be Zooming in. Again, we're pretty excited about it. I think it's gonna be a great opportunity for our kids to make sure that they get a nice, nutritious breakfast in the morning. So what does passing period look like? Which has obviously been probably one of the biggest puzzles we've been working out with how our campus is laid out. So let's take a look.
There will be no dismissal bells during hybrid learning. Students will be dismissed from the class by their teacher approximately 3 minutes before the end of the period. Once students are dismissed from the class, they must move directly to their next period class, following the arrow markers on the ground to ensure social distancing. Students should not stop to socialize and must move directly to class. Once they are at their next period class, students should wait for instructions from the teacher before entering the class. If your teacher's classroom's door is shut, please line up facing the door but past the hallways. School supervisors will be assigned locations around the campus to support social distancing.
See if I can do this without messing it up this time. Nope. Too good to be true. So a little bit more with passing period. So students will be dismissed during distance learning, during hybrid. We will have no bells ringing. So that's going to be a little unique for us, but I think it will be a really good practice for us. So supervisors will be out in their locations to help with the passing period about 5 minutes before the end of the end of the period. Teachers will then dismiss the students again in a staggered format 3 minutes before the end of the period to move directly to their next class. So there will be no lingering around, kind of hanging out. I know that's unfortunate. It's one of our favorite things is kids getting to socialize at some point, but they will need to move directly to their next class. Arrows have been placed on the ground 6 feet apart to ensure the traffic flow of where everybody should be heading to their next class. Because of how our campus is physically set up, the traffic flow pattern is like you would have on a street, but they do need to stay within their arrowed section in a certain whatever direction that they are heading. They will move directly to their class. Our teachers are amazing, so I know most of them will invite them in right away and have them sit in their assigned seat. But if for whatever reason, if the teacher, for example, may be using the restroom, if the door is shut, we will have supervisors in each of the hallway areas, and there'll be areas for them to line up outside the door, outside the flow of traffic. So again, social distancing must be maintained at all times. And it's kind of like keep moving, or someone said to me yesterday, just keep swimming to get to your next class. So let's talk a little bit about dismissal and lunch.
Students will be dismissed from school in a staggered format. A school supervisor will announce dismissal of certain buildings on the PA system. Students who will walk home will be dismissed first, followed by those students who are car riders. When students are dismissed, they'll be able to exit out of one of 3 gates: Amazon Gate, Gate A, Congo Gate, Gate C, or Daintree Gate, Gate D. Botanical Gate, Gate B, will be closed for dismissal. Please make a note of these gate locations. Amazon Gate is located near the 300 building. Congo Gate is located near the cafeteria, and Daintree Gate is located in the back of the campus near Palmwood. If a student wishes to pick up a free lunch, they must exit through Congo or Daintree gates. At these gates only, a cart for lunch will be set up and students will be able to grab a lunch and then leave directly out of the gate. Again, you can only get a lunch by exiting through Congo or Daintree gate. All students must exit campus immediately. No student will be able to linger around campus or in front of the campus. Continued lingering on campus or late pickup could result in the student having to move to distant learning. Students will be dismissed from school in a staggered format. A school supervisor will...
We're getting close to being done with videos, which would be helpful. So dismissal at the end of the day, as you heard first, we will be doing a staggered dismissal. We will be dismissing our walkers and bike riders first through each building, and then we will go back through each building and dismiss our students that will be picked up. We will begin the staggered dismissal at 12:25. Students will then exit out of one of 3 gates. So we will have 3 gates open for dismissal. Our Amazon gate, which was open at the beginning too, which is over near the 300 building. We will also have our Congo gate, staying with our jungle theme here, and our Daintree gate, which is in the back, open as well. And our Congo and our Daintree gate will also include lunch carts. So if your child would like lunch when they're here on campus, they will be able to walk out that gate, simply just grab a bag and then just continue on their merry way. Students must exit campus immediately. Same thing, just keep swimming. And then please, 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 please make sure to pick up your child on time. We cannot have them outside of the building for an extended period of time. So certainly let our office know if there's any concerns that you have or you might be running late so we know we can keep them in a safe, socially distanced location. So for those students that are at home, so let's say that you're in cohort B and it's Monday, how do you get lunch? Well, our district nutritional service department is still going to be offering lunches for like a grab and go drive-by lunch on Wednesday. So only on Wednesdays now. So hopefully you've gotten that notification. So this started on March 15th. Lunch and breakfast drive-through will still be available on Wednesdays at IMS between 7 and 9:30 a.m. So within that pickup is 7 meals, 7 days worth of meals. So the great thing is for the rest of this year, all breakfast and lunch is free. So let's talk a little bit about what happens if a student is sick at school. So if a student is sick at school, we will use the student symptom response tree, which I'll show you in just a moment to help guide our decision making and also help you when you're having conversations with your students if you're noticing that they are sick. So students with any COVID-like symptoms, and we'll kind of show you the difference here in a second, would be taken to what's called our isolation room. So all schools at DSUSD have to have set up an isolation room where it has appropriate PPE, appropriate staffing, and a separate place with a separate restroom that is away from classrooms and other academic and instructional buildings. So our isolation room is set up in one of our portables. So if one of our students or even staff have COVID-like symptoms, they would be taken to the isolation room working with our isolation staff. I know that word doesn't sound very nice, but I think maybe it separates it out other than health office. We do ask that if for any reason your child is sent to the isolation room, that when we call, the parent would need to come immediately. We will start with calling parents and then following up with emergency contacts. Once you arrive, please just contact us, the office, and we will actually have you meet your child at the gates over by the portable for exit so that there is no need to go into office or any other interior spaces. So those are students or staff members with COVID-like symptoms would go to the isolation room. So here's the big difference. We still will have our health office, and our health office will be manned by our IMS staff. The isolation room will primarily be manned by district nurses. The health office will still be in our main office, and these will be things like minor cuts, bumps, bruises, old injuries, any kids that are on medication, they would still come up through our health office. The isolation room is more for COVID-like symptoms or chronic things. Now, obviously, we know, especially with all this wind around here right now, that we all get runny nose and congestion. So we will be mindful that we're not going to send every single person that has a runny nose unless we notice it's severe to the isolation room without doing our proper self-check as well. Okay. So if a student needs to stay home, so we mentioned this before earlier, so what if a student is sick and needs to stay home? Yes, they can Zoom into those classes for the day. However, this should only be for students that are homesick. We still will be continuing with attendance monitoring, so it's important if there is a hybrid, if it's a hybrid student that is maybe continually Zooming in from home instead of coming in person, we would need to have some conversations because like I mentioned earlier in the presentation, we do have a wait list for students that want to move into hybrid. And so we want to make sure the spots are appropriately used. Okay, so we ask that you only do the Zooming in when you're sick or sick and able to Zoom in from home. So here's that system response tree. And again, we'll post this on our webpage for you to use just so you can see kind of what will guide our decision making, especially when it comes to isolation rooms and next steps and parents for you too. So if you ever have a child that would be picked up from the isolation room, what would be some next steps for you? And then this is one of the things I am most excited about is we have a wealth of supports for your child here on campus. So we went through a lot of real rigid protocols and procedures right now. Well, I think one of the things IMS does best is just think about everything that the students need and really just wrap their arms around them. So we have a lot of supports that will be available to your students on campus or even off campus if they're staying on virtual. So as I alluded before, if your student was with us last year, you probably heard of our RPI room or room 511 with Mr. Uribe. We have now, and Ms. Luna, I'm gonna look at you to give me a heads up, we've now lovingly called it our wellness room or our wellness hub. We actually received a grant this year to really outfit that wellness hub. So when everything goes back to some level of normalcy, it's going to be the coolest space ever. There's a waterfall fountain, there's beanbag chairs. It's gonna be a great place for kids that need it and receive the support that they need. So we still have wellness staff, and that includes our counselors, Ms. Luna, Ms. Beltran, Mr. Uribe, as well as Mr. Vieta, our mental health therapists. So if any of your children need access to any of them, again, they need to go to that attendance window and they be referred then to anybody on our wellness team. Ms. Triplett, who is our instructional coach, has created a mindfulness Bitmoji room, which is available on our webpage for anybody to access, with multitudes of resources for our students to, from breathing exercise to yoga to, I think there's even an art piece, all sorts of great things on the website. As well as our counselors, they're linked within that mindfulness room, but I know they have their own counseling corner page that has a wealth of not only the social emotional support and wellness needs, but also college readiness information, course optionings, and even alluding to important information on our ROAR values. So great opportunities. Those are available virtually for our students as well. Mr. V, who is our mental health therapist, part of our wellness team, also is going back to creating his mental health moments with Mr. V that are available on our IMS media page. And they're great. They're very short. They're less than a minute, and they're just good tips for self-care and wellness. And then finally, our counselors will continue. Ms. Luna, I put this in there. I didn't double check with you, but they're going to continue to have their school counseling check-in form. So if your child needs anything on our counseling webpage on our website, they can go to that form, just fill it out. And they are, I'm not just saying it because she's here, they are amazing about getting with your students and providing the support that they need in a timely manner. Oops, we're not going to watch this on this moment, but you can certainly later. And then finally, discipline. So again, we do take an approach here at Indio Middle about making sure our students understand the expectations and are taught the expectations. So that's why we've been spending a good chunk of time in our homeroom class, not only enforcing our ROAR values, but talking about what our expectations are for hybrid. So, and while they'll continue to hear it. So students must continue to adhere to our IMS and district safety procedures, because a lot of the procedures that you're seeing are not just unique to IMS, they're district-wide. So things that include masks must be worn at all times, social distancing must be maintained, no grouping of students, must follow appropriate social distancing and safety signage. They must keep their hands to themselves and to their not touching other students' belongings. And it's very, very, very important that there's never an intentional, even though it may appear joking, weaponizing of the virus. So that means an intentional cough on someone, even if it's trying to be silly. Again, we're about educating the kids. So we'll make sure the kids are clear on these expectations. But our job at school is to make sure everybody is safe. So with the support of district, if there's any intentional or continued violation of any of these safety procedures, things could different violations may result in things such as discipline referral, suspension, or if you're a hybrid student, potentially a removal from hybrid learning to distance learning. So it's very important that you have some conversations with your students, your children, about the importance of these things, so that it's echoed at school, and so that all of the students and all of the staff and the families that they go home to, everybody is safe. All right, so I'm not going to show this right now, especially because I recognize a good chunk of the names on this screen here, but I'm going to ask you to please, because it's 10 minutes long, that's why I'm not going to show it to you. But we have created a virtual campus tour. It's very well done by our Tiger News kiddos. So if you want to go to our IMS Media webpage or YouTube page, so I'll type it here in the chat, IMS Media in YouTube. And you click on the videos tab, you will see all of those videos that I just shared with you, but also our campus tour if you'd like to see what our campus looks like. And I mean, we've had some pretty great modernization going on too. So what it's looking like. Nope, there we go. Don't start that. All right, so at this point, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to stop recording, and I'm just going to then open it up for any of you guys. Oops, stop share for questions. Give me just a moment to stop the recording.